Hi guys, and welcome back to Grace Engine Developments. We're really getting there with the subscribers now, so I just want to thank everyone that has subscribed to my channel so far. I really appreciate it. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, if you could subscribe, it would really mean a lot to me. You could just hit the subscribe button down here and hit the alert bell as well. That will just let you know if and when we do a new video when it comes out. The MGB video that we put up, that's actually gained quite a lot of response, all positive at the moment, which is nice. And we've had a couple of MGB jobs coming off the back of that as well. So one of them is a cylinder head, which is in for a lead-free conversion. This was painted black. I've already stripped it and I forgot to film the beginning of it, but I'm going to carry on filming it from here. So this is in for a lead-free conversion. So the next process for me to do on this is to machine it to fit the lead-free seats. And then I'm going to press the guides out of it. I'm going to give the top of the cylinder head, the rocker face, a light reface, and it corrects the thermostat sealing part of the casting as well. I'll then press the new guides in, reface the head face, cut the seats to the right angle, and then wash it and build it. Yeah, and then we'll get recording anything else that happens as well. Today I'm working on Hamilton Classics Rover V8 Rally car engine. It's fitted into a TR7. I've built the engines for Alistair now for, I don't know, it must be 10 years or more. This one's proving to be a little bit tricky because we've managed to get Alistair's up to a certain amount of power, and yeah, he wants a bit more, which is understandable. So he's bought some Australian Rover V8 cylinder heads, which I've got finished. In fact, I'll show you them now. So these are the cylinder heads, and the valves are huge in them, a lot bigger than what you can get into a normal Rover V8. Now, how they've managed to do this is by changing the valve angle. That's caused me a massive problem, because in changing the valve angle, it changes exactly where the valves will sit in the bore. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see actually, let me try and get a better angle. So these are Omega pistons, and here is the original Rover V8 cutouts in the Omega pistons, and then it has a chamfered top into the crown of the piston. So what I've done is, it's a bit crude, but I've marked it with a Sharpie and then plotted exactly where the new cylinder head's valves sit on the piston. So they're a fair bit away from the actual cutouts in the piston, but I also think that because of the cam that he's using, and on this part here where it goes from an angle to the flat top, I think the valves are going to hit here. So what I'm doing today is, well, the first thing is Alistair's a bit desperate for this engine, and this has been an engine that's been here for a little while because it's been a little bit of a project engine. But so he wants to go racing, I want to get it done, so today's the day where I'm going to work out all the bits and bobs and try and either machine the pistons or get the bottom end built ready for the cylinder heads. The other thing I would say about the cylinder heads is that they are really nice cylinder heads, but Alistair thought he was buying a full CNC'd cylinder head, but I don't know if you can see down there, they're not CNC'd. They've been opened up with a CNC to the port, but then there's actually some quite big steps in there. So the second cylinder head, at the minute I've got that set up on the Superflow because I've been taking some data from it ready for porting the cylinder head. So what I've got here is just plasticine, and I'm gonna put the plasticine on top of the piston, and then spread it out So basically I can move that away from that. I'm rocking the engine stand. Spread it out. So there's about, it's probably got a bit too much here actually. About 3 mil of plasticine, roughly where all the valve train is going to work. Then because it's nice and soft, I can thin it out with my thumbs to get it where I want it. Like that. So with the plasticine in place, I've screwed down some of the ORP caps. I've put the kinetic gasket on it. So the next thing I'm going to do is set the cam timing. So the next job that I've got to do on the Rover V8, apart from set the cam timing, is I need to work out what size push rods that I need, because the whole thickness of the head is different. The rocker arms are completely different. It's using a Comp Cams roller rocker. So what I've done is I've set the adjusters in the middle. I've got it where the roller is, if I can just show you, I've got it where the roller there is in the middle of the valve stem, which is exactly where I want it. So now I need to work out what size push rod length I need. So what I'm going to do is, with the standard push rod, I'm going to cut 2 of them in half and make them adjustable and add about 1 inch in there, but so I can adjust it 1 inch. Then it's just a case of setting it all up and then ordering the right size push rod off the adjustable ones that I've made. You can actually buy adjustable push rods for this purpose, dummy building and whatnot, but I want to get on with it today, so I'm going to work it all out today. So I've welded the push rod up to give me an approximate length that we're going to have to get the push rods made to. I've tidied up the nose of the crank so I can get the new Kent Cams vernier timing wheel on. And what I haven't put a chain on it yet, because what I want to do is make sure that this gear is running straight. So I'm going to put a straight edge across here and here just to make sure that's all nice and in line. And then the next thing I'm going to do is see how much valve to piston clearance we've got. So to do that, I'm going to fit the timing chain. I've worked out what the lift at TDC should be on the inlet cam. So I'm going to fit the push rod, set the cam timing up, turn the engine over, and we'll see what kind of clearance we've got on the piston. I'll time lapse most of this. So right, so what I'm doing now is checking to make sure that the camshaft and the crankshaft gear are in line, so there's no side loading on the chain. So to do that, I could just use a straight edge and then hold it flat against either the camshaft or the crankshaft gear, and then make sure that it's in line and that there's no gap, which it looks to me like I need to do a slight, yeah, I've got to do a slight altercation on the crankshaft gear to take a little bit of load out, but that's no problem, I can do that. So the update on the Rover V8 is I set the cam timing just about perfect. I've turned the engine over 2 turns, and what that's also done is I, with a Sharpie, just blacked out the tip of the valve So now I can see exactly where the roller rocker is rubbing on the top of the valve. So the push rod that I welded up to make it longer, I basically know that I need to be a little bit shorter than that to get it where the roller on the roller rocker is in the middle of the valve. So that's all good. The other good thing is the engine did turn over as well with no contact. So I'm going to take the head off now and see in my plasticine roughly how much inlet valve to piston clearance I've got. So with the engine, with the cam timing set on the engine, I've given that 2 complete revolutions, then come back and measured it, and I've got 3.8 mil of clearance between the inlet, and then I've got plenty of clearance there for the squish on the gasket or the cylinder head. So that's all good. This job that I've just done on the Rover V8 Rally car engine is I've just worked out the CCs in the cylinder head because I'm working out the compression ratio. So I've used my glass barrette, filled it up with fluid, and now I'm going to record the data for the on the engine build sheet so I can work the compression ratio out. So I'm working on Alistair's V8 Rally engine, and the inlet manifold problem that I showed earlier, Alistair's got by that. I showed him the problem that we had with the gap in the top of the inlet port. So he come over and grabbed the inlet manifold and welded a 6mm plate on each side of the plenum chamber. So he's done a really good job of that, but where he slipped the die grinder in places, and also the heat has distorted this alley plate. So I'm going to mount that on the surface grinder now to correct it. The other thing was the heads was only part CNC'd on these outer bits, and there was some quite big steps in there, so they wasn't actually very good. The compression's lower than the standard Rover V8 heads. So I've just skimmed 20 thou off the top of the heads, and I've reported the inlet, the exhaust, and they'd also left some real sharp edges in the combustion chamber, so I've just rounded all them off as well, just to try and help the flow. I didn't realise how much work there was going to be in these cylinder heads. I mean, to correct the ports, to get them nice and straight again, and a few other bits and bobs, tweaks that I've done to them. There's 3 solid days work there, so yeah, I was hoping I could just measure them and get them on, but it's got to be right. We've got to try and get some good power out of this one. So yeah, that's the first one, so that's now ready. I've just got to grind the valves back in just in case I clip the seat with the polisher. I don't think I did, but I'll grind the seats in just to make sure, and then give them another wash off and get them built. So on the inlet manifold of Alistair's V8, where he's welded the 6mm plate on it, the heat has done a fair bit of damage to this. You can see the localised warping everywhere. But we've got it mounted on the surface grinder, so I'm going to keep taking cuts off it and see how much comes off it to get it flat. So I'm working on Alistair's Rover V8 today, and we've had a bit of an issue with the push rods. We can't get the right push rod length. So Alistair's supplied some of these aluminium push rods, what we need to machine down to size and then fit another ball on this end. The problem with these is the guide rails for the push rods, they don't fit. So I'm just machining a little bit out of them so I can slot the push rod in, and then I'm pretty sure that's the right length. I'm going to go and check my measurements, fit one up, check it, make sure it's all good, and then machine the other 15 of them. So that's all Alistair's Rover V8 Pushrod short end. So now I've got to press in the other ball end and then check my valve geometry, set his tappets, and that's the Rover V8 finished. So now that Alistair's push rods are all shortened into the right length, I've built up one bank of the cylinder head and valve train. I've set all the valve clearances on that. So one thing that I thought I would just show is a job that I've got to do is these guide plates are they're too small, the opening for the push rod, because normally the standard push rods are like this, and we're running ones that are like that, because they're quite a lot wider if I put my hand there. So what I'm doing is I'm just opening up the guide rail slightly so the push rod fits in there quite nice, and then I'm polishing the sides just so it doesn't really cause any drag on the push rod as it's moving up and down. So that's that one done. Next thing I've got to do to that is just torque in the bolts that hold it down. So these are ARP bolts here. So I'll put some ARP grease on these to help them torque down properly, but they fit there like that. And then I'll set the tappets on this cylinder here. So that's Alistair's V8 nearly finished, ready for him to collect. All I've got to do is put the other rocker cover on and bolt it down. So I finally got Alistair's Rover V8 complete. I'm not going to say this has been an easy engine to do. We've had loads of little problems with one thing and another, but thanks to Alistair for sticking with us while we've been getting through it. So this has got some trick Australian TA Performance cylinder heads on it, which use a Chevy valve gear, and that's what we've had the major problems with setting that up. The heads also was designed for boosted application, so when I superflowed them, they had no flow at all up to a certain amount of lift. I can't remember the exact figures, but it's saved on the computer. So I decided to redo the ports and the combustion chambers. When I did that, we lost a load of compression, so I skimmed the heads again to get the compression up. So the push rods that we bought from America then was too long. So Alistair then went on the lookout for some new push rods, and we've ended up fitting some really long aluminium push rods in it, which I've had to machine down to the right size to get the geometry right on the valve. Then we've had other little problems with the roller rockers, getting them to all sit right. And then the next problem we had is where these heads are completely different. It meant that where we'd machined his crossover inlet manifold before, it was too short. So Alistair took the inlet manifold away and welded 6mm aluminium plate all the way around on this. I've machined them flat and then bolted them on, and then the holes don't line up. So after 6 attempts later, we've got the inlet manifolds now on, everything mates up and does well. This is using a Kent race camshaft. It's got JE racing pistons in it, JE conrods. What else has been done to it? It was completely balanced at a V8 specialist in Bicester. We had the rocker covers powder coated, crackle finish black, and that's it. It's all ready to go now. So Alistair's here now. He's gonna we're gonna load it into the back of the X5, and then the next few days he's gonna get it back into the TR7, which I'll get him to send us some videos of. And he's doing a rally in Jersey in 3 weeks, I think. So I'm not going to say I'm sad to see this one go, because I'm bloody pleased it's going actually, but there we are. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you could hit the subscribe button, that would be great. To anyone that's watching hasn't subscribed, if you could subscribe, that'd be awesome as well. And we'll see you on the next vlog. See you guys.